All right, so welcome to R&R, our rest and reset. I'm dropping a playlist link in the comments if you would like some music on in the background. In no way required, but sometimes it can be helpful to just have something on in the background to help ground any potential distractions or really just invite you deeper into this moment to create that relaxing environment. For those of you that may not know me, my name is Karen, and I'm really grateful and appreciative to be here with all of you. Hi, Sarah, welcome. This week at the studio, we're exploring Kali. Kali is a fierce goddess, and she's really got this truly fearsome imagery about her. She's got like a belt of human arms and skulls about her, and there's a lot associated with death. But really, she's the goddess of time. That's truly her realm that she rules over, and so she's sort of one that likes to invite us to let go of those expectations and control that we often try to impart in our lives. And so there's an element of death and rebirth when we let go of those expectations and the way things have to be and actually invite ourselves back into the present moment, to let go of all of that reaching, all of that efforting, all of that striving, which in some ways has a place. Sometimes that element of like active nourishment of the soil is needed, and sometimes it's also a distraction. And so in those moments when we aren't paying attention, she likes to show up and invite us to let go. So she's sort of like this, as we let things die, as we let things go, it actually fosters new growth. It fosters life. And so she invites us to remember that. Super low-key and uplifting, love it. I think if anything, there's an element of remembering that time is impermanent in and of itself. Our entire cultures and the way we live our lives are so ruled by time. And I just said it 3 times before we even started this class. So it's ever present, and yet also it's completely subjective in its own way. The way that we experience time is subjective. The way that we delineate things is subjective. So it invites us to remember in a good way that things are impermanent, and we can remember that we don't have to try so hard sometimes. That's helpful. We're going to begin at the wall today, and if you don't have a wall handy, you can also just come to a substantive piece of furniture to help. We're going to come into a version of legs up the wall. So I often like to put a folded blanket underneath the hips to help support them. And so you're welcome to do that as well, and that's what I'm going to cue you into. So feel free to grab a blanket, and we're going to bring that folded blanket really close to the wall. And then we're going to bring the hips to sit to one side. And then slowly and imperfectly, we're going to swing the legs up the wall. And first we can kind of feel into the placement of our hips, and do we need to either bring them closer to the wall or help adjust the blanket. And before we do anything else with the legs, first make sure to keep a decent bend in the knees. We don't want to overextend through the knees. But before we get any further with the legs, I want to invite you to check in with the shoulder blades. To lift up each of the shoulders, slide the shoulder blade down the back and really open through the chest and the heart. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together and begin to slide the heels closer to the tailbone, opening through the knees, coming into a version of bound angle right here at the wall. And to find this position, you can feel free to settle in even deeper, perhaps allowing the hands to come to either side, wide, palms facing the sky. Perhaps closing the eyes or softening the gaze.
beginning to connect to the wave of the breath. With your inhale, breathing in full and deep. With your exhale, allowing the breath to release back into the world as you settle deeper into the support of your body, of your mat, of the earth. Again, as you breathe in, inviting the breath deep down into the belly, into the hips, letting the body open and expand as you fill with the breath. And as you exhale, just simply notice the pathways and sensations of the breath as it leaves you. Taking note of that pause between the inhale and the exhale. Again, breathing in through the nose, opening through the chest, the heart, the belly, the hips. And as you exhale, just noticing the quality and the textures of your breath. Noticing the quality and the textures of your tissues and systems. Noticing where you might be holding tension. Noticing where you can invite release without efforting. Often, even just in the moment of awareness, of noticing, oh, I'm holding myself there, or oh, there's tension. We can simply breathe into that awareness, to that density within us, and it releases without forcing. We can let gravity and presence do all the work. And so in this heartbeat, the invitation is to simply be with yourself right where you are. Not contemplating the future, not ruminating in the past, but just allowing yourself permission to arrive fully right here in this moment, right where you are, right here and now. I invite you to find 5 more deep, full breaths here. With your final inhale, filling fully and deeply with the breath, pausing at the top of the breath, sipping in even deeper, filling up, exhale, side out the mouth. Hearing the sound of your breath as you let it all go. And with your next exhale, we're going to gently press the feet back up the wall. You can separate the feet And you can either keep them into this kind of full extension, keeping a little micro bend in the knee, or you can come into more of a 90-degree into the knee. And we're going to invite the right foot to come in towards the hips, and you can hook the right hand either on the ankle or the outer edge of the right foot. And we're going to open into a half happy baby. Option here if you want to play with movement as you open into this posture, or option to let go of controlling the movements and just letting gravity do the work here. Staying connected to your breath. And just beginning to notice the sensations and contours that you find within your systems, within your tissues. Let yourself stay here in this moment with your breath, with your body, with your being. If at any point you want to take a big inhale and a big sigh of release, sometimes that feels really delicious with these big hip openers. Be here for 5 more rounds of breath. So again, feel free to play with movements or release the movement and just let yourself be deeply in it. With your next exhale, you're going to release that right leg, extending it right back up the wall, keeping a micro bend in that knee, maybe moving the toes from side to side as you rotate internally and externally through that leg. And then you can leave that leg extended or bring that knee to about 90 degrees as you invite the left leg to come in, opening into half happy baby on the other side. Again, you can explore movement here, or you can release, just letting yourself settle into the stillness. Noticing that actually in that stillness is so much internal activity, even without effort. Noticing as the breath comes in and the breath releases. And letting that be the sum and substance of it all. We don't have to accomplish anything here. Three more rounds of breath here. And then with your final exhale, inviting that leg back in, extending both legs up the wall, pointing through the toes, flexing through the feet, just finding some gentle movements here. And then hugging the knees into the chest. We're gonna rock a little from side to side, just getting a little gentle massage in that low back. And then eventually letting yourself fall over to a side of your choice and pausing there for one round of breath. Perhaps sighing as you release the breath, coming gently back up to seated. And then we're gonna invite ourselves to come to standing. So we have an option here. We're gonna come into a forward fold towards the wall. I'm not going to face the wall so you can actually have a better viewpoint, but I'm gonna invite you to stand about 3 feet from the wall. Remembering that a foot is truly usually a little bit bigger than our actual feet, but actually smaller than we tend to contemplate in our mind. So we're gonna get pretty close to the wall. I'm going to invite you to inhale, extend the arms overhead, really reaching through the fingertips. And then as you exhale, gently bowing forward, being careful not to bump your head on the wall. And as we come into a forward fold here, just noticing that the feet are hip width distance apart and then making any adjustments if we need to. And with each exhale, really letting yourself settle deeper here into this stretch. And if you like, you can then gently tiptoe yourself forward, letting the wall take you deeper into this forward fold. And for some body types, this feels really good. And for some body types, it's not particularly helpful. And so the option here is to simply remain in that forward fold, noticing what you experience when you use the wall. And if it serves, keep going. And if it doesn't, let it go. I'm going to take 5 more rounds of breath here. And your final exhale, take a big sigh out the mouth. And then gently roll up vertebrae by vertebrae, strengthening through the core, lifting with strength and integrity. Again, inhale, extending the arms overhead, reaching through the fingers. As you exhale, bring hands to heart center, connecting back with yourself. And then we're going to come back to our mat. We're not going to use any props for the next section, but I do invite you to have whatever you want for your Shavasana handy. So if you want a bolster or some blankets or some blocks, feel free to get them close by. But we're going to come to seated in the middle of our mat with our legs facing the right side of the mat. And we're going to bend at that 90 degrees through the legs. And we're going to stack hip on top of hip, knee on top of knee, ankle on top of ankle. And then we're going to square our chest towards the top of our mat. So we're actually twisting, letting our heart come to face the mat, framing out with our hands on either side. And then we're going to gently lower the chest down to the ground. Option to cactus out through the arms so that the forearms and the elbows come to meet the earth. Bring your gaze to one side. Connecting with your breath. Again, letting yourself be where you are. Your next exhale, beginning to lift through the chest, planting the palms underneath the shoulders, gently helping the torso come back up. And then we're going to shift our legs around and hips around to the other side. So coming to the left edge of your mat, and then you're going to stack hip, ankle, and knee, framing out with the chest, and then gently lowering to the ground, cactusing out through the arms. Taking a big full breath in, and a sigh of release. Continuing to notice the sensations and textures inside your inner environment. Taking one more deep, full breath in, and then planting the palms underneath the shoulders, gently easing back up to seated. And then we're going to set up for our Shavasana. There's an option here if you want a little more heart opening, that you can come down to a supported fish. You can use your bolster or rolled blanket towards the back of your mat. You can actually place the bolster either way. If you place it long ways, it's going to help support the chest and the heart and also give the head and neck a place to land. You may want another folded blanket towards the back just for added support. And if you bring it length or short ways, it's going to come under the shoulders and the chest. And so just make sure that you've got a folded blanket or some extra support for the head underneath that as well. I find for a truly deep restorative, long ways is a little easier for something like a Shavasana. Option also, if you want to come into a traditional Shavasana, perhaps bringing the bolster underneath the knees, maybe a folded blanket underneath the head and neck. There's lots of options here. So finding your way, eventually making your way to your back. Again, tuning in with those shoulder blades and really inviting them to knit together and come down the back to really open up through the chest, through the neck. Take a big full breath in and a big sigh of release. And with that, we let go of the conscious efforting of the breath and the body. We let the cycles of our breath find their natural rhythm as we feel our systems and tissues also find their natural rhythm. And in this space, we give ourselves the freedom to be as we are. To not be laden by who we have been or who we are expected to be. To not be pulled by the past or rushed forward into the future. But to be right here in this breath, right here in this body, just as you are. Once again, I invite you to connect to the wave of your breath, the rhythm and the presence of your heartbeat. This rhythm of life right here within you, right where you are. Your next exhale, perhaps extending the arms overhead and really feeling that deep, long stretch. As you're ready, you can invite the knees into the chest, maybe just wiggling through the toes, and then letting yourself rock a little from side to side, again, feeling that sacrum rooted to the earth. Eventually allowing yourself to fall over to a side of your choice, pausing there, breathing. In this yogic posture of rebirth, we are reminded that we begin again in every breath, with choice, with sovereignty, with wholeness. And with your next breath, inviting yourself back up to seated in whatever way serves you. Bringing the palms to connect in front of your heart. Left palm in union with right palm. Slight tuck of the chin as you bow towards your heart. Namaste in its simplest form means the light in me honors and acknowledges the light in you. Bringing thumbs to third eye center between the eyebrows and the forehead, bowing forward to seal your practice. Namaste. Thank you, yogis. I hope you have a beautiful evening. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, have a beautiful night, and I'll see you soon. You are so welcome, Sarah. Good to see you. Bye, guys.